Hey friend, a quick update for you. My website is officially live. I'm so excited. You can check it out at reneemat.com. And my name is spelled a little bit different, so people get hung up on it sometimes, but it's Renae. And I'll make sure the link is in the show notes in case you need to just click that and get to the website. But this website is where you're going to find all the things that I talk about here on the podcast. Plus, I've officially opened the wait list for my upcoming course. So, if you've been wanting some extra support to finally get those 5 foundational routines working for real life, you'll definitely want to get on that list so that you are the first to know when doors open. The new website is going to be your go to spot to learn more about me, check out those resources I mentioned on the podcast, and get that support if you're ready to create routines and systems that actually work for real life. So when you're done listening, head to reneemat.com, take a look around, pop your name on that wait list. I cannot wait for you to see it. Are you often overwhelmed by the amount of dishes greeting you every time you walk into your kitchen? If you have a habit of letting those dishes pile up and then you dread the moment that it's time to tackle that food crusted mess, you are going to love this episode. I have 6 tips to share to help you keep up with those dishes so they aren't annoying, they no longer have to stress you out, and you can actually feel good walking into your kitchen. Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renee Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast. I know many of you are going to relate to this episode because dishes are one of those things that just always have to be done. And I've seen a lot of people kind of work their way around it where they're using, like disposable plates and silverware all the time so that they can avoid doing dishes or just letting them pile up and having absolutely no counter space left until you are out of clean dishes and then you have to wash your dishes to be able to actually have something to eat with again. And then there's people that just don't care and it's easier to keep up with the dishes. And I was one of those people that just hated doing dishes, but I have grown to be very um okay with it. Like I don't love doing dishes, but I definitely don't mind doing dishes anymore, and a lot of it is mindset and learning these little tricks and habits to make it easier to keep up with dishes and easier to clean the dishes because I think one of the things that made me so irritable and annoyed when I had to do dishes was that it was kind of a mess. It was just gross because you have this sink full of dirty dishes and some of it has food crusted on it and it just kind of starts to smell and it's just gross. And we no longer have to deal with that because of the little tips that I'm going to share with you today. It does sound like as I go through these, you're going to be like, well, duh, that makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you already be doing that? But it was something that I had to kind of learn over time because it didn't happen automatically for me. I actually had to intentionally make these changes to make it easier to do the dishes. So, if you are good with doing dishes and you don't have any issues and you can keep up with yours, then you're probably going to want to skip this episode because it's not going to be very helpful for you. However, if you do have a tendency to have your dishes piling up and you're kind of dealing with these things where they are just gross and it's crusty and you can't seem to keep up, then this episode is going to help you. So, we're going to go right into doing it because if you are overwhelmed with a constant flow of dirty dishes, we're going to want to get you out of that as quickly as possible. So, let's go through these 6 tips to help you keep up. Number 1 is always rinse your dishes immediately after using them. So this one, it sounds simple, it sounds just like you should do this automatically, but so many people do not do this. So when you are going to put your dish, whether, wherever you're putting it, I'm not going to say right now, wherever you're putting it, just rinse it off. It does not have to be long, but if you have one of those like sprayers at your kitchen sink as well, those are super handy because you can you can turn that on and you can just spray off your dish. You want to get any food or residue or anything off of it, even if it's not like actual food chunks, even if it's something like maybe it's like a juicy steak or something like that that you have put on your plate, rinse that liquid off because if you let it dry on there, it's going to make it more difficult to wash off later. And you're going to end up having to spend more time on dishes when you're trying to clean all the crusted stuff off of your dishes. It sounds gross, but just make sure that you are rinsing your dishes, every single dish, glasses, plates, silverware, pots, pans, everything like that. Rinse them even if you're not washing them right away. You will save so much time. And they'll get less stinky if they are piling up a little bit. Number two is don't set dishes down inside the sink. This one is where it can get pretty overwhelming quickly if you, especially live with other people in your house. Because if you use something like maybe it's a plate or a glass or anything like that, and you use the dish and you set it inside the sink, then the next person that comes is going to set it inside the sink. And everybody does not stack things very nicely usually. It's just wherever it fits in the sink. So next time you walk into the kitchen, you could have a kitchen sink full of just dirty, gross dishes. And you can't even fill your glass of water or fill a pitcher or anything like that because there's just not room because that sink is piled high. So, what I would suggest doing is if you're not going to wash it right away or put it in the dishwasher right away, if you need to just set it down, rinse it off and put it on the side of the sink, like on the countertop. Because then, when you are ready to actually wash your dishes, you are able to have your sink open already. You can just fill it with hot soapy water. All of your dishes are already rinsed off. And now you can just go ahead and wash them quickly. And it takes hardly any time. It will save so much time and energy and stress if you just follow those steps. It's amazing how these little tricks can help. Tip number three is to reset your dishes at every meal or snack time. And what I mean by this is you really want to just reset whatever you can regarding your dishes every time you go into the kitchen to have a meal or have a snack. And when you think about this, it really is going to depend on where you're at in your dishes cycle. It's also going to depend on if you have a dishwasher or if you're washing everything by hand, or maybe you're doing a combination of the two. We definitely do a combination of the two. It just depends on what type of dishes they are or how many we have and things like that. But basically, what you're looking at doing is if your dishwasher is full of clean dishes or you have a dish rack that has clean dishes in it, you want to put all of those away before you make your meal. You want to make sure all of the clean dishes that you have are put away at this time. And then as you have your meal or your snack and you're creating more dirty dishes, you are taking care of those as well. So whether you are doing a wash right away where you're filling up your sink and you're quickly washing those dishes and then setting them on the rack to air dry, or you have unloaded the dishwasher and now it's open to put all of your dirty dishes into your dishwasher. So you just want to make sure that wherever you're at in this cycle, that you do something with your dishes at every meal or snack time. It does not have to take long. It is a quick process and you're just resetting it so that it's ready for you next time you enter the kitchen. This saves so much time and instead of doing this giant massive pile of dishes every time we go in to make dinner each night because all the dishes have piled up all throughout the day. Instead, you're actually just taking care of the dishes that have accumulated since the last snack or mealtime and only in that window because they were already done last time you had a meal or a snack. It makes it so much easier and you're not spending so much time and it's not such a dreaded task because it's very quick and easy to do. So that helps a ton if you just focus on resetting your dishes at every meal or snack time. Tip number four is to create a plan on how to do your dishes during those meals or snack times. So, not only are you committing to resetting, you're also making sure that you kind of have a system to follow while you are doing your dishes. So, when you are going to cook your meal or put together your snack, whatever you're doing, I highly, highly, highly recommend having your first step be to make sure all of the clean dishes are put away. that opens up your space to have space for dirty dishes and to put dirty dishes into the empty dishwasher. That helps because you're not only saving your time from having to make your meal and then put your dirty dishes by the sink and then load the dishwasher afterwards, it's already unloaded. So as you're making your meal, you can just take whatever dirty dishes you're using, you can rinse them off and put them straight into the dishwasher. And it saves time for cleanup later. Now, the other thing that I would suggest doing is not only having everything unloaded, but then filling your sink with hot soapy water before you even start cooking. Because then, as you are cooking, you can rinse everything off and wash it, give it a good rinse to wash off the soap, and then put it on your rack or on your dish towel to air dry. Because then by the time you're done cooking, all of your dishes are already taken care of. It has not had any time to set on those dishes or to get crusty and dry on the dishes. Everything is washed and clean as you are cooking. It just makes it so much easier. So, that is what I would suggest doing. If you aren't going to be using so many dishes that it feels wasteful to do a full sink of soapy water, just don't fill it up all the way, or they make like the kitchen sponges that are like antimicrobial, or they do like the bamboo brushes that you just kind of dip it into this like soapy water dish that happens, and then if as long as there's no food on it, it stays pretty clean, and you can just do it a quick scrub with those and then rinse them off and get them into the dish rack. So that is an option if you don't want to do a full sink of dishes, but more than likely you're probably going to be just fine to fill a sink even if it's not super full. Just do a shallow sink full of hot soapy water so that you can wash as you go. It just makes things super easy. Now, if you have not done that and you do have a pile of dishes, then this is where you still want to have some sort of system to actually wash dishes. Now, I'm going to kind of do a segue here quick for a little story. When I was growing up, I grew up in a very large family. So I'm the third oldest of 11 children. So you can imagine that that creates a lot of dishes because you're washing all those dishes that people are eating with that have kind of piled up throughout the day, things that you're cooking with. So there's lots of pots and pans and utensils and things like that. So every evening after dinner, we would have just this massive pile of dishes. And what I hated doing when I was growing up was washing dishes because it felt like it was just never ending. And what I realized is even as a teenager, I started to create this pattern or routine of how I was going to wash the dishes to get through them as quickly as possible. And I started repeating it over and over. And now that I think back to that, it's like, it's really funny because I still do dishes the exact same way as I did when I started doing it as a teenager and figured out the routine that worked the best for me and was the quickest way for me to get dishes done. So instead of just doing them super scattered, I would actually create a system and wash everything in categories. So that's how I still do it, and I'm going to share with you how I do it, but you're going to have to find what works best for you when it comes time to do dishes. Maybe it does work really well for you to just do them really randomly and just grab whatever is closest to you and wash that. But for me, it helped a ton to kind of sort things out a little bit and then wash as I went. And I actually used this method. I worked in a cafe when I was a later teenager as well. And when I was working at the cafe, I had to wash dishes as part of my task because it was a really small cafe. So I cooked, I waited tables, and I was washing dishes. And I still used this same method to separate everything out into categories and wash it at that way, and it works really, really well. So, I will kind of tell you what I do, and you can see if it works well for you. You can give it a try or just find a system that works well when the dishes do pile up so that you have quick go-to that makes it really easy and doesn't feel as overwhelming. So for me, if dishes have already piled up, my system or routine or my habit to get them done really quickly is to number one, I make sure everything is rinsed off. And that if anything feels like it's kind of crusted on, I make sure to spray all that down with hot water so that I can get as much as I possibly can off. If anything needs to be scraped out, I can scrape it out. If it needs to be like soaked a little bit, I will actually fill up a pot if it if it has crusted on, because sometimes you're not always in control of it because there are other people cooking sometimes, or it's something that you just forgot about, or it was in the fridge or something like that. So it doesn't always work where you can get all of it off. So sometimes something does need to soak a little bit. So if it does, then at this point, I can get it soaking. So I fill it with hot water, put a little soap in there, and set it off to the side. But otherwise, I'm basically just rinsing off anything that needs to be rinsed off. And I'm kind of separating things in little piles as well while I'm doing this. So if I'm rinsing any glasses and getting stuff out of those, I will rinse them off and set them together so all of the glasses are together. And then everything is just piled together. So all of the glasses are next to each other, all of the utensils are together, all of the plates are stacked up, all of the pots are kind of towards the back, and everything is just kind of categorized in their similar type of dish style. So that is the first thing that I do is I want to make sure everything is rinsed off and kind of categorized. And then the second thing I do is I fill the sink with hot soapy water and I put all of the utensils into the bottom of the sink. Because this way they can soak and they should be pretty clean by the time I'm done. And because everything has already been kind of rinsed, I should be able to get through all of the dishes without my water getting scuzzy or even cold because everything should go very quickly now. So I just drop all of the utensils to the bottom of the sink and then I start washing the dishes while that just sits and soaks. So then I first wash all of the glassware. So anything that you drink out of, that gets washed first just because the water's cleanest at that point, and I feel like that is just makes sense. Like I want nice clean glasses, and so if I'm washing glasses, like I just do those first automatically. Then I wash plates. And so I'll take the whole stack of plates and I drop them right into my sink full of water and I just start washing the top one first and you wash the top, you wash the bottom, you rinse it off, you put it in your dish rack and you just continue on until all of the plates are done. And then you go to any containers or lids that you have. So if you've got like refrigerator containers for any leftovers, things like that, those are what I do next. And then I go to pots and pans. So that's usually kind of the last item. If you have other odds and items in there, you can decide when to do those. I'd probably do them between the containers and the pots and pans, but it's up to you. But I do pots and pans almost last because those are going to be the biggest items. And if they did need to soak at all, then it's probably going to be a pot or a pan that needed to soak. So it gave it the most time to soak. So I do the pots and pans at this point because everything else on the counter has now been done at this point. So all I have left remaining are the utensils that are at the bottom of the sink. So then I just scoop up the utensils and I started this as when I was working at the cafe. So you just get a handful of the utensils and you would grab your dish rag and you kind of tuck all of the utensils into your palm and you pull one out between your thumb and your forefinger and you wash the head of the utensil and then you go all the way down the handle of the utensil. You put it to your other hand and you keep moving through until all of the utensils have switched from one hand to the other as you're washing each one individually. And then you rinse the whole handful of them and you rinse all the soap off. And then you have your whole handful of utensils washed. So as you're moving through all of the dishes, you are being very quick. So it feels very automatic and it feels less daunting because you have this really quick system to just get through your dishes. And then as soon as they're all done, you can drain the sink, rinse it out, wipe it all down, and then wipe off your counters, and your dishes are completely reset. So that's even if you have just a massive pile of dishes. This is an easy way to get through them quickly so you are not just standing over the sink doing dishes forever. Because that is never the way that we want to spend the evenings. So that is what I do, but you can definitely find your own routine or method to how you would like to wash dishes when they do pile up. But that system has worked really well for me for, gosh, it's probably over 20 years at this point because I'm aging myself. But it is definitely something that works really well for me and has for many, many years. Okay, going back to our tip list, tip number 5 is to start your day fresh, meaning free of dirty dishes. So if you Make it a habit and make a commitment to not go to bed with dirty dishes. This can be a total game changer. So, we want to make sure that you are going to bed with no dirty dishes in the sink. And if there are dirty dishes in the dishwasher, that you start your dishwasher before you go to bed. Because if you can wash up any dishes that are in the sink or next to the sink, if you have gotten that habit down, and you can wash those, and even if you let them air dry overnight, that's totally fine. I have nothing against air drying dishes. And in fact, I prefer it because I think that you are more likely to wash them and have clean dishes than to have to focus on washing and drying and putting away. It seems like more of a process. I am totally supportive of just making sure they're washed and letting them air dry. So, anyway, if you are going to bed and you're making sure that you wash your dishes and start your dishwasher if you have one, then you're going to wake up to clean dishes. You might not wake up to no dishes because you had things running overnight, but you're going to wake up to no dirty dishes. And that's the key. So if you don't have time to run the dishwasher after dinner and get everything put away before you go to bed, that's totally fine. As long as you're waking up to clean dishes, then one of your morning habits can be to maybe unload the dishwasher or put the air dried clean dishes away while your coffee's brewing or while you're getting ready to make breakfast or while you're doing something else, then you can make sure to put your dishes away at this point because then you can begin your day with having an empty dishwasher and a clean sink area. And now you are basically going into that routine of resetting at snacks and meal times. So you're starting your day fresh, and then you can make sure that as you make breakfast, you can put any dirty dishes in the dishwasher or you wash everything up and reset that space before you leave from breakfast. And then that way you're ready to go next time you go into the kitchen for another meal or another snack. All of these tips and habits and routines all really work together because it's all different pieces of things throughout the day and how we're handling dishes and how we're managing dishes. And this just all ties together. But this is a huge one is to start your day fresh by making sure you're going to bed with no dirty dishes. And the final tip number 6 is to focus on your mindset. And this one's not really tactical, but it is so very necessary because if you are feeling overwhelmed with dishes, if you can focus on building these little habits of resetting the kitchen and going to bed with the dishes, with no dirty dishes at night, and waking up and unloading that dishwasher to have it clean and ready to go so that you can start filling it throughout the day, and having these little habits in place are going to change your mindset when it comes to how you view the task of doing dishes. If you dread doing dishes every time you go into your kitchen, then it's going to feel very overwhelming and it's going to feel like a hassle every time you go into the kitchen, and it's not going to put you in a very good mood. So, if you can focus on trying to have a better, more positive outlook when it comes to doing dishes, it's amazing how much easier that becomes and how much better you feel when you're going into your kitchen. Even if you see some dishes there, you can know how to very quickly get them done, get it reset, and then it doesn't have to even be something that crosses your mind. It just is something that is done in a way that is already strategic for you because you've already made the intentional habits and have positioned yourself in a way where you can get these things done and it does not even have to be a worry. So I had to include that one as a tip because it can make such a big difference in how we are feeling about the overwhelming task of dishes if we just envision it very differently in our minds and focus on a different perspective and changing how we feel about doing dishes and keeping up with dishes because it does make an incredible difference in how we view these things. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope that it does give you some hope that you can get out from under the pile of the nasty crusty dishes. Like nobody wants that. So we really want to make sure that we're giving you some tactical ways that you can actually make some changes to how dishes are done in your home so that it is more manageable and you can stay on top of this and it doesn't have to stress you out anymore. So, if you enjoyed that episode, if you've been enjoying the podcast and you have not taken time to leave a rating or review yet, I would very much appreciate it if you did. You can go right into your podcast app and leave a rating and sometimes even a written review. And if it allows you to leave a written review, we would love to hear from you. So, I will do a really quick recap for you of those 6 tips to help you keep up with the constant flow of dirty dishes so that you don't have to be so overwhelmed. Is number 1, always rinse dishes immediately. If you do nothing else in these tips, that one will help you a ton. Number 2 is don't set dishes down inside the sink. Rinse them off and then set them beside the sink or straight into the dishwasher if it's empty, because then it's going to make it easier to fill the sink and quickly do a load of dishes. Tip number 3 is to reset your dishes at every meal or snack time. This means if there are any clean dishes, you want to put them away right away, whether they're air drying or they're in the dishwasher. And then when you are done with your meal or snack, you want to make sure that you don't walk away without all of the dirty dishes being taken care of, whether you are washing them by hand or you're putting those into the dishwasher. Tip number 4, you want to make sure you create a plan on how to tackle dishes during those meal or snack times. So you are wanting to make sure that you are putting those clean dishes away right away before you even begin your prep work or your cooking time. And then you want to fill your sink with hot, soapy water and wash as you go so that you're not piling dishes up for the end. You are washing them as you are cooking to stay on top of those dishes. And with this, you also want to make sure that you have some sort of system or method on how you would like to tackle dishes when they do pile up. So, if you want to go with what I do, I make sure everything is rinsed and categorized. And then I make sure that I have that sink of hot soapy water and I drop all the utensils to the bottom of the sink. And then I wash glassware, then plates, then containers and lids, then pots and pans, and finally I finish off with quickly washing all the utensils. And then you can either dry and put everything away, or you can let it air dry, and then make sure that you put it away next time you enter the kitchen to cook or meal prep, because at that point, you're back to resetting the kitchen. And then tip number 5 is to always start your day fresh. This means you never go to bed with dirty dishes so that you are waking up to either no dishes or clean dishes. And then you can make it part of your morning routine to make sure you're checking on those dishes so that you have the ability to go and just put any clean dishes away. And now you are set for the day. For any dirty dishes to accumulate, they can go directly into the dishwasher or they can be rinsed and put beside the sink so that they are ready for the next meal or snack time for the reset. And then number 6 is to focus on your mindset. If you need to shift your mindset a little bit here, then do so. But how you view doing dishes is going to make a big impact on the overwhelm of dishes, and putting these small easy habits into place, it feels like a lot, but as you focus one at a time, you're going to start making those changes, and very soon you will quickly see how that impacts your dish load, and you're going to be able to manage and stay on top of your dishes way better than you ever thought possible. It is going to be so easy and it's not going to be that daunting task that it might be now. So, I hope you take these steps and you put these habits into place and they start making huge impact in your life, because nobody likes being overwhelmed by dishes, and we want to make sure that we are putting habits into place so that dishes no longer need to overwhelm us. Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.